It's about that time of day again, folks. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter, boys and girls. Joseph James here. It's Monday evening, November 23rd, 2015. We get another jam-packed newsletter in store for you guys. Hope you had a great weekend, by the way. Crude oil, range bound, still trading inside the same range we saw last week. Boy, wasn't that a great plan on Friday? Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Gotta love those ranges on crude. Well, we're back again this week. We've adjusted the range a little bit. I'll go into that in more detail in a moment. So crude, still range bound, still trading inside relatively the same range that we saw last week. Our plan will be very, very similar. Now, one big clue that we got from today's chart is the failure from the sellers early this morning, which tells us that little pendulum we talked about last week likely going to swing back up and aggressively push this price higher tomorrow. We'll take a look. Really, we really could see one of two scenarios tomorrow on crude. We'll talk about that in a moment. E-mini S&P also range bound. I told you not to buy those highs on Friday last week. I hope you guys listened to me. S&P range bound. We get a bullish bias this evening, like I told you guys last night or last week, right? We definitely have a bullish bias right now, but we got to wait for those dips to buy those dips. Don't buy the highs. We have a plan using range rotation, the two-try rule. We're looking for opportunities on the S&P as price rotates from the high down to the low tomorrow. Something tells me there's some bargain hunters waiting for it down there. Gold, how about the yellow metal? Range bound with a bearish bias this evening. Our plan is to use, same thing, a lot of trading ranges on gold. We're using range rotation, two-try rule. Gold is a very narrow market right now, so we're definitely excited to see what that old jack-in-the-box is going to have for us tomorrow. And, of course, the euro, the 6E, also range-bound. We got a bullish bias this evening on the 6E after we saw the sellers recently try and fail to move lower. Tells us the buyers are likely going to take this price higher. So sellers fail, buyers going to swing this higher on the euro. We got a great plan for you guys. Crude, E-mini S&P, gold, and the euro. As you guys know, before we jump into our charts for tonight's newsletter, though, I do want to remind you all, though, make sure you're watching this video on our trading blog here at Sideways Markets. If you're watching the video on our YouTube channel, I appreciate the views on the YouTube channel. There's a link in the description of that YouTube video, and that'll take you over here to our trading blog. Why, you ask? Well, first of all, upper left-hand corner, I got a free pass for you to come out and attend our live trade room as a guest. Grab your free pass. If you're not a member here at School of Trade, like to get a free pass to our trade room, upper left-hand corner. In the lower left-hand corner, right above my ugly mug, you'll see a spot to register for our nightly newsletter mailing list. All you need is your name, your email, and then press a submit button, and I'm going to send you a verification email to make sure we have the right email address, so make sure you verify your email. Then you'll never have to worry about missing another newsletter ever again. Right below the video for tonight, you'll see a spot to download all the charts from tonight's video. That way you'll have those ready for you for tomorrow's session. And of course, over on the right-hand side, you can learn more about trial membership. Not the same as your free pass, of course. You can see membership information, read member reviews, and of course, we've always got someone standing by 24/7, 365 to give you guys a hand. You ready to rock and roll? Don't forget, guys, we get a short week this week. We've got the holiday coming up right around the corner here. Thursday, the markets are closed. Friday is one of those half days, right? Oh, who am I kidding? I'm going to be waiting out front of Walmart to get my hands on one of those discounted flat screen TVs. I'm bringing the helmet. I'm bringing the taser this time. I'm kidding with you. You want some crowd psychology? Go hang out in front of a big box store on Friday morning, right? Make sure you pack a lunch. You're going to be there for a while. Wednesday is really the variable day this week. In my opinion, Wednesday is the travel day. I know people still do travel around the world just for, and again, I don't mean just for Thanksgiving. It's a beautiful holiday, one of my favorite holidays of the year, but this is one of those holidays where, in my opinion, you're crazy being on an airplane this time of the year because there's only so many days, right, folks have off. So I would expect Monday we have the craziness we saw today. We'll talk about that in a moment. Tomorrow, really, in my opinion, is going to be the last full day of price action for us. I think Wednesday, again, I see this being a half day on Wednesday, so get to it early on Wednesday. We'll talk more about that in tomorrow night's newsletter. Closed on Thursday, and then again, with the exception of the shenanigans happening in all the big box stores, and grab your deals on Amazon, right? The old Black Friday specials, right? I love the new ad from Amazon. Let the deals come to you. Let the deals come to you. Oh, if only I could be so lucky, Amazon. I appreciate it. But again, tomorrow, last full day. Wednesday is going to be a half day. If you're traveling on Wednesday, be safe out there. Be safe out there. Remember, pack a pillow if you're going through some of the colder weather climates. I always seem to get stuck in an airport around this time of the year. And then Thursday, of course, markets are closed. So just be aware of that holiday schedule for this week. All right, we'll talk about it again tomorrow. I'll remind you guys again tomorrow. Let's get moving though. We've got crude oil, S&P, gold, and euro. Let's start out this evening with the black gold. Boy, oh boy, what a great Friday we had. You know, we're only as good as our last trade, though, so we're right back at it again this morning. We got that beautiful, remember talking about Friday, sellers trying twice, right? And whoop, right back up to complete rotation. So here's where we left off on Friday, right? We left off on Friday, and you can see I did touch this thing down one tick to 76, just trying to go with it where the most tests have been. And, of course, we teach all that stuff in our intermediate course. We rotate all the way up. Tag, you're it, right? Remember this from last week. This is why it's important to follow the newsletter every evening, because it does blend together every evening, right? You keep learning and you keep growing, evening by evening, video by video. So we rotate up to the 42.76. We then head all the way down. We go down to the low. Here comes a very big clue. Look at the sellers trying to push lower. Now, where are those sellers trying to push to? They're trying to push to 39.78, right? Now, we have an ongoing joke in our office. We've got a number of traders here in the office here in Los Angeles. And one of the jokes is we always find some excuse not to get into the 39s, right? I almost felt, this morning we woke up, we heard from whoever in Saudi Arabia saying, we're coming to the rescue. At the December meeting, we're going to do something to stabilize these prices. And what was funny was the Iranian oil minister came out right afterwards and said, no, he's not. It's almost like the Saudis have some hecklers now in the background, right? A couple times the Iranian oil minister came out this week and said, no, he's not. I'm calling his bluff. He's not going to do anything for us in the December meeting. Whether or not that is true or not, you can definitely see the reaction. So this is when I say, forget about the fundamentals, forget about the news. What are you seeing on the chart? I don't care what came out of the Saudis' mouth. All I know is that they blew right through that low, but then all of a sudden, right, record kind of skips. We couldn't get the rotation down to 39.78. Remember that pendulum swing we were talking about? Yeah, that pendulum is getting warmed up. Goes all the way down, and this is what we now expect, right? We expect that pendulum now to swing up and really run this higher. Now, obviously, I can't predict the future just like you can't predict the future, so let's keep going. So we know we have rotation. It goes up, misses the high by one tick. One tick. Comes right back down, higher lows. This thing is feeling very, very bullish. No, it's not because of what we heard this morning from the Saudis. No, it's not because of what I saw on CNBC this afternoon. It is all because of what I'm seeing on this chart right now. So here's what we're seeing right now. The rotation target, if recency is the most important thing, and it usually always is, we did rotate down to that low. Now, here's what I see. I see this missing that high by only a tick. Sometimes missing by a tick means unfinished business, and I think that's what it's telling us right now as well. They clearly overdid it, rotated it lower, and now we expect to see them go higher. How they react at that 42.76 is going to tell us a tremendous amount of information. Really what you're looking for here is for this price to blow right through it. What we don't want to see is we don't want to see it get stumbling around like it did at those lows, right? That was very, very obvious. So really all I can do right now is say I will definitely understand if this price shoots higher. Again, it has nothing to do with the fundamentals. It has everything to do with the technicals right now. Seeing that price swing and that pendulum going to overreact. So seller failures on the way higher with the initial objective being 42.76. We have a major measured move up at 43.36, and then of course up to that 44.25. Now here's the other scenario. The other scenario is that we finish the job going lower. You know, in all intents and purposes, the pendulum may have swung and it may have run out of gas. I can't predict the future, like I said. So let's say scenario 2, we wake up tomorrow morning and we've now hit 41.27. Now we're going to, hold on, time out. The pendulum now is back in balance again, and we now will use this range, the 2-try rule, right, to rotate higher. We don't lose as much. We don't have as much of the bullish aggression if we run back down to those lows. Okay, capiche? Now the next thing is if we push higher, we see the buyers try twice. Right, there's your 2-try rule. And let's say middle of the morning tomorrow morning, these buyers are running out of gas. That's a good one, right? No, that horrible joke. I'll stick to my day job here at SOT, right? If they fail, now of course that's going to be your opportunity here to be a seller right back down. And again, pendulum goes up. They try to get it to run. If they fail, right, that pendulum should swing all the way to the opposite side. Guys, this is one of those markets. You're going to see a few of these where you really have to look and see what this looks like tomorrow morning at the opening bell, because you can see right now crude's right in the middle of this range. We're most likely headed to 42.76. I'm going to see what we look like tomorrow morning. If we've really, the only variable for me right now is if we've gone lower, finished the rotation back down. That tells me that one tick miss, right, was actually, I guess, just a market folly, if you will. Rotate, and then back down. All right, guys? Stay tuned for more on this for crude, but right now, this pendulum should swing considerably here back to the upside. 42.76, 43.36, and 44.25 will be our targets for tomorrow. What a crazy market that was today. Now, moving forward from the crude oil to the E-mini S&P, a lot of the same stuff here right now. The big difference right now in the S&P clearly range bound. We get a bullish bias this evening, so our plan is to use, again, range rotation, 2-try rule to look for opportunities as price rotates from high down to low tomorrow. The big push higher last week gives us the bullish bias. And the sellers are currently, as you can see, trying to rotate down to that low at 77 1/4. Now, we'll be watching that rotation lower very closely because we have a bullish bias on this range. If these sellers fail to get to 77.25, then we have no reason to believe this price is probably going to shoot right through those highs. So rotation is our main focus before we do anything tomorrow. If we try to go lower, we definitely have one try, 2 tries. We know we're looking for that 77 1/4. If we get to 77 1/4, we are happy in balance, rotating from high to low, low to high, high to low, low to high, buying lows, selling highs. But again, remember, the key here now is that pendulum swing. If we don't successfully get down to that 77 1/4, right? If we can't get down to that 77 1/4, you know what's coming next. Pendulum swings, opposite direction. It's probably not going to stop at that 92.5. It's going to try to go to that 07.80. We'll be watching this market tomorrow morning in real time, as you can imagine. So right now, bullish bias, air on the side of the bulls. We have range rotation and the 2-try rule, and we're focusing on failures on the S&P 500 for tomorrow. Let's keep moving. Next up here on the gold, the most pathetic of the markets this evening, we have the gold futures. Looks pretty pathetic to me. Nice narrow range on the chart right now. Clearly, this market is struggling to find any real long-term direction right now. We're definitely bearish in the big picture, right? We're definitely bearish in the big picture, but the reality is with this little tiny range right now, we're range bound with a bearish bias this evening, so our plan is to use range rotation, the 2-try rule to catch buyers and sellers on the wrong side of the market. I'll err on the side of the selling side here for tomorrow. The big push lower ended in a very narrow trading range, which is now seeing almost perfect rotation from high to low. And it looks like the sellers are trying to test the rotation target at 64.8, right? Looks like these sellers who rotated, buyers took it higher. They hit the rotation target at 74.1. We should have stayed inside that range. Now they're trying to get it down to that 64.8. 64.8 is where you'd expect to see those sellers are going to take it. But if they fail, we'll be looking for a pendulum to swing in the opposite direction up to 74.1 and possibly 77.2 as the buyers react to the seller's weakness. Really, the biggest concern I have for gold right now is there's not enough range. There's very small amount of range, and what that usually means is we always have a tough time trading around it, right? I don't want to buy into 71. I don't want to sell into 67.9. I don't want to buy into resistance and sell into support. That's really the only problem that we really run into in these really narrow range-bound markets that we're seeing right now. You know, we get a nice wide range on crude, so we can definitely, we're not going to run into any problems trying to fit our trades into this range. S&P looks pretty damn good too. But as you can see, though, gold, much, much smaller range. So really, the higher it goes or the lower it goes, that'll give you the better option, right, as it pushes lower or pushes higher to at least get you out of the way here of those range levels at the highs and the lows. So right now, bearish bias. Follow the bouncing ball. We rotate from the low to the high, to the low, to the high, to the low. Notice here the sellers missed that range rotation by a tick. Where do they go? They go pendulum swings. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Pendulum swings all the way back up. They run up to the next range rotation. Now at that point now, they should have been moving inside of this range here. That should be the new balance. The new balance clearly doesn't work. One try, two tries to get down to those lows. We're now in balance here. And again, bearish bias is pretty much the only clue we have right now. We see the sellers try once. They're going to try again. If they fail to get to 64.8, you know where it's going, right? Pendulum swings, whoop, right back up, 74.1, 77.2. It's pretty much exactly what was described in the text at the top of that chart, at the bottom of that chart, right? Sorry about that. Okay, so now you get the plan here for the gold. Again, bearish bias on it. It's going to be a tough market to trade tomorrow. Not a lot of room on that to really get into much. And then, of course, you got kind of the flip-flop of this, right? Kind of the flip side of this on the euro. Euro is range-bound. We get a bull bias this evening after we saw the sellers recently try and fail to move lower, telling us the buyers are likely to take this price higher. Today's trading range started off with a bullish move higher. This is a very interesting trading range, as you can see here. This one took a little bit of time to find out because it really didn't look, at first glance, I mean, you're like, geez, look at that. Big drop down. There must be a range here, but it really doesn't fit the part. There's no real range. There's no double tops, no double bottoms. There's no easy range rotation. So we go, the chart tells us, not with what our gut tells us, and we see we have a bullish move into range rotation. Buyers try once, buyers try twice, they fail, where's it go? And see, when you walk through it like this, all of a sudden it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? They can't rotate higher. Where were the buyers trying to go higher? They were trying to go to 667. Okay, they couldn't get to 667. Where are they going to go now? They're going to counteract, right? They're going to pendulum swings all the way back down. You can see what happens. Now, here's what's very interesting, and this is why I say we're likely bullish here on the euro. Sellers try and fail. They missed by one tick. Yeah, you can see it. They missed by one tick, just like we saw on the crude chart, right? So they gave it another shot, couldn't get it done. Yep, likely going to see that pendulum all the way back up here now. Easy targets above 667. A little bit more difficult to predict 0691 going into tomorrow's session on that euro. So definitely bulls have the edge here right now. This looks a lot better than gold. We have a bullish bias to the trading range, and with those sellers just failing by a tick. Again, oftentimes those markets love to view that as a big old bullseye or a big old target to go right in the opposite direction right now. So recapping here, bullish bias and a recent seller failure on the euro tells you to expect this market pushing higher here. Don't forget, range rotation, a lot of ranges here tonight. On the gold is the one I'm most worried about for tomorrow just because of that real narrow range. So just be careful. Make sure you know your levels of resistance and support before you go taking any trades tomorrow. Make sure you're not trading right into those 71s or 67.9. Right now, really what you want to look for on gold, the problem right now on gold is we got a bearish bias and they're failing to rotate this price lower. So really what you want to see is you want to see this thing jump up, right? And then, of course, look for buyers to fail and bring it back down. That's going to be the safest bet tomorrow. We got to get there first, though. As of right now, I would expect to see sellers try one more time. And again, if those sellers don't, or if they're not successful down to 64.8, that's when that pendulum will whoop right back up. It's going to be a little bit lower probability because of that bearish bias, but now you know what I'm expecting. And then, of course, that will take us up to the highs here. If we get to 74.1, then we go into this range. Then we're looking for selling opportunities up at those highs, right, to sell it back down. So look for the best selling opportunities late in the day tomorrow, especially if they fail to push to 74.8, because you're going to get that counterbalance pendulum swing all the way back in the opposite direction. The S&P right now, again, like I said earlier, bullish bias to trading range. I'd love to find a way to get long, right, down around this range low. That would be the ideal scenario. Really what you want to really pay attention to on the S&P is what happens here overnight. You got that try from the sellers, right? They tried once. They're going to try twice. If they can't get to 77.25, watch out, man. This thing's going to run. It should run aggressively back to that high. And, of course, that pendulum swings, right? 2100, the big round number, 2107.75, right? Some targets overhead. And again, really the ideal scenario here would be it goes lower overnight, tags the 77.25, tries to make a run towards that 62 even, tries once, tries twice, can't get it done. That's where the big money's going to be made, and that may not happen until middle to late morning tomorrow. So be patient on that tomorrow if you want to stay to the long side right now and you want the juiciest opportunities here on Crude and then, on the S&P. And then wrapping up here on Crude, right now, biggest clue is the trading range is the most important clue right now. Those bears completely failing. And again, with the pendulum swing missing by one tick, you got to give a little bit of the edge right now to the bulls. The only scenario that negates that right now is if they can successfully rotate to 41.27. Then it's a balanced market again, and we're back into rotating, right, from those highs to lows, lows to highs. And then if you want to buy it once we come off that low, then seller failure to buy it back up. Or the ideal scenario to be a buyer would be seeing it go lower, sellers try twice, they're gunning for that next rotation target, and then we're buying it right back up. Again, range rotation, pretty much the name of the game across the board here today. Crude, S&P, gold, and euro. Be careful on that gold with those real narrow ranges. And, I also should definitely issue a warning again for crude oil. Today we came in this morning at 8 o'clock, opened the trade room, and we had some monstrous range on our hands. Remember, volatility is great, but it gets to the point where it can be too great. So just remember, we have a plan every morning. We look at, as what we call, take the pulse of the market. We look at the ATR. We look at the volume. This morning it was very, very clear that we had to be careful. Tomorrow may be another session. We're watching the ATR tomorrow morning, and we'll see if we can fit this market into our kind of standard risk profile, which we use here at School of Trade. Remember, when it gets really volatile, coming off the back of commentary coming out of OPEC nations, by the way, this is the first time in a long time we've seen the market actually react to a word out of an OPEC nation. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I can't predict tomorrow, but we'll definitely be watching this live in real time. Don't forget, come out and join me tomorrow morning as a brand new advanced member. You know how we do it here, guys. Beginner, intermediate, advanced levels of membership here at School of Trade. Head on over to schooloftrade.com, grab a copy of your free trial, and don't forget, we've always got someone standing by 24/7, 365 to give you guys a hand. We got tomorrow's going to be the last full day of the week here for us. Again, Wednesday is a full day on the calendar, but it's usually a travel day ahead of Thanksgiving because most people just have to, they got to work until Wednesday. They'll get out early and they'll go visit family and friends for Thursday and Friday. So really careful tomorrow afternoon. We'll talk about it one more time this week. And don't forget about the schedule for the holiday this week coming up. Big news tomorrow morning. We'll see how it plays out. My name is Joseph. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sending some feedback to JJ at schooloftrade.com. Give me a thumbs up on the YouTube video. Share this information with a friend and come back and see me tomorrow morning. 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, we open up our trade room. tomorrow evening. We'll do the same thing over again with our nightly newsletter tomorrow evening. My name is Joseph. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.